Garmin sports watches. These things are packed full of so much technology, it's actually hard to keep up with all the functionality that exists in these small devices. And it always amazes me when I speak to friends and people in the running community that have a Garmin that use these things with just the functionality that exists out of the box. When the truth is that there is so much customizable options and data screens available on your Garmin watch that you can really make it your own. So what I plan to do in this video is to show you how I've customized my Garmin Epix Pro Generation 2 to facilitate supporting me through my training and the different types of data screens that I use depending on the type of training I'm doing and the type of running I'm doing. I'll also share with you some tips and some shortcuts that you might not know about on your Garmin device, so that hopefully by the time you watch this video, you'll be able to set your Garmin device up to show you the data that really matters to you and facilitates you in becoming a better runner. So let's get into it. Okay, so as I mentioned, I have the Garmin Epix Pro Generation 2, but the setup and 5-button combination of this watch is the same as pretty much any other Garmin that you may have. Today we're going to be focused on running and the data screens associated and options associated with running. So in order to get into our activity type, we're going to click the top right-hand button. It will give us a list of the activities that we can choose from, and for this video we're going to focus on running. And the watch will give you a suggestion in terms of what type of training it thinks you should do for the day. I've already done my run this morning, so I'm going to get past that screen by clicking the bottom right hand side. And then to get into the options, we're going to long press the middle button on the left that will show us this screen. And to get into the actual settings for the run itself, we're going to click on this button and we're going to look at data screens. So what the watch will show you now is the data screens that are set up on the watch at the time that will be available to you on your run. And I have made quite a few amendments to the standard configuration that will come out of the box. When you get your watch out of the box, most likely it will have a few screens that look a bit like this. So this only has 2 data fields on it. You've got your HR readout and your zone readout, and also the timer for the amount of time you've been running. And as we go through, you start to see the different options. So you'll have probably a map on here as to where you are from a GPS perspective, and you'll probably have the time of day as well, and then you have the option to add the different screens and types that you might wish to see on your run. So I've set my screens up to show me 3 different types of screens depending on the run I'm doing. So if I'm just doing a general run, I have this screen on. So I have my heart rate at the top, we have distance, we have the timer, so timer of the entire run. We got lap pace. This is something that you might want to change out of the box. So lap pace out of the box generally comes at just pace rather than lap pace. And pace will show you how fast you're running at that very specific moment in time. So that will change and fluctuate depending on if you're running quicker or slower, but it's not particularly helpful when it comes to having a goal in mind for a particular run, and especially a goal on for a distance. So I set my pace up to be mapped to a lap, and that each lap is a mile, so it will show me on here a readout of what my current pace is for that particular mile that I'm in at the time. We also have here training effect, so I like to see what effect the current run is having on my training, and will tell me the amount of time that I've spent in an anaerobic state versus an aerobic state. So this will give me a readout here. I also like to know how many steps I've done on a run, what my cadence is. Generally, I'm a high cadence runner, so I usually have a number around about 180, 185 for my runs. And at the bottom of the screen here, we have an elevation chart. So what will happen as we run on our run here, we'll get a green readout or chart that shows us what the elevation is on our run. So if you're running in a particularly hilly area, then you'll get a readout and a screen that shows you how much elevation that you've run on during that run. So this is more of a general setup for me, but if you did want to change any of these data fields, all you need to do is click here for your setup, navigate down to data fields, and then you can tab through and change any of these that you wish. And this is where the power of the options that you have on Garmin really come into play. So if instead I didn't want to see distance, for example, we have a number of different options that we can choose here. So I could be, for example, more interested in what my stamina level is at the time, or the amount of stamina that the watch perceives that I've got left in terms of my potential. So maybe I want to see that, for example. Maybe if I want to see something around what the temperature is, you can do that. And if you want to navigate back out of that option field, you just press the back button, which is the bottom button on your right. And you can keep going through and basically set this up to show you exactly what you want to see. So there's an awful lot of power here, and you have graphical readouts around your oscillation and things like that. So if you pair your watch up with something like a chest strap, the HRM chest strap, you have a lot of very powerful metrics around not just your heart rate, but also in terms of your balance and contact time on the ground, and lots of different things that you can use to make this watch really your own. So you can do that, but if you want to navigate through and create your own, so I mentioned here that I've got different setups for different types. So this is my generic one. I have one that's got data fields that are very much associated with doing hill repeats. So I've got timer, lap time, total ascent to show me how much ascent I've been on throughout the entire run. Laps, this is where you have the option to track the amount of hill repeats that you've done. So for example, I'll just show you, if we start the watch now, and imagine that I've already run up to the top of the hill, I can click the button here that will track the lap, so that every single time we do that repeat, the watch will recognize that it is a lap or a one of the hill repeats. Now, a top tip, if you didn't know this, is if you accidentally click that again and you're not meaning to, you can long press the bottom left-hand button, and what that will do is it will forget that particular lap. So if you accidentally press this button on your run and you get annoyed and frustrated like I do that you've accidentally tracked a lap that wasn't a lap, then you can undo that by clicking that button here. Okay, so you can undo that if you wish, just like doing that. If I navigate back into my option list, so if I stop that run, and what we're going to do is I'm just going to delete that particular run, discard that, yes, discard. We're going to go back into our running activity, as I mentioned, so we're going to look at the data screens, back into data screens, and then if I navigate down further, I also have a screen set up if I'm doing just generally speed repeats. So again, I've got my heart rate, I've got the last lap time that tells me what my last lap was. So rather than it being the current lap, it will show me how fast I did my previous lap. So for example, if I'm doing kilometer repeats, for example, this will tell me what the last kilometer was, this will tell me what the current kilometer is, and this is the overall distance. So they're the three that I use most of the time. And you have also the options to do loads of different things. So one of the hard things if you train on your own, I train on my own almost all of the time, is to have any kind of motivation as it comes to any kind of competitive nature that you may have when you run with other people. So you have the option on this screen to set up a virtual partner, and you can say how fast you want them to run. So you can set their pace, and you can set that up to be as quick or as slow as you wish. I've got it set up for miles, so it may be that I want them to run at 7 minutes 45 for my virtual partner, and that is how you would do that. So that's how quickly your virtual partner would run, and you would run against them. As we navigate down, as I say, we've got lots of different options, but you can add as many data screens as you wish. So if we click here, plus, we can have different types of screens based on what you wish to see. So I'm going to say custom data, and then this is where you have the option to choose the amount of fields that you want on your screen as well. So you, as I mentioned, on the Garmin Epix Pro Generation 2, you can have anywhere up to, I believe, 8 fields, but it is totally dependent on the amount of data and information that you'd like to see at the time. So let's just set up a very simple one. So we'll do a three fields, and it will go through and ask you to choose what it is that you'd like to see. So I would say that I'm going to say 1 is going to be a heart rate field, giving me a readout of what my heart rate gauge is, but you can choose anything here, heart rate chart. You can have heart rate zone ratio. I'm just going to go with heart rate. Second field, let's just go with timer, and we'll say what the overall time is on our run. And then on here, we'll go with the amount of distance that we've run. Then it gives you the option to change the order if that's what you wish to do. I'm going to say that I don't need to. And you can see here now we've set up a completely very, very simple screen, but hopefully that shows you, the power of what you can do on these data screens, and you don't just have to set the watch up in accordance with what comes out of the box from Garmin. And another really interesting thing that you can do during your run. Now, I run listening to music via Bluetooth on my watch, and sometimes there is mild interference on the Bluetooth connection. So what I might want to do, or I might want to change the music, or I might want to change the volume. So what I'm going to do is show you a simple way to do that if you're in the middle of a run, because you don't want to stop and you certainly don't want to turn the watch off to do that. So let's just go for a simple run. We'll just say that we're starting to run now. What you can do on your run, if you're mid-run, is long press the bottom right-hand button, and it will show you your options while your run continues on your watch. So I can go into here. I can say, right, I want to look at Spotify, for example. And if I click here, we can change the volume if we want to do that. So that's a really good way to look at, it's not just music, you can do that here. You can do that with any of the, kind of glances that are part of your watch setup, but you can do that and not interfere with your run at the time. So that's a really, really useful thing to know on your runs. So yeah, what I wanted to do is make the point here that you don't really need to just go with the basic setup of your watch. You can really make it your own, and you can make it really, really do exactly what you will find helpful as part of your running journey. Okay, so I hope that was helpful and it gave you some ideas about how you can set your Garmin up and the data screens on it to facilitate your training goals and objectives in running. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I do other reviews of other products that I find useful as part of my running journey. I also do running and race vlogs as well, and we have a very strong focus on the channel of the links between a physical and active lifestyle and the positive effects it can have on mental health. So if you are interested in any of those things, follow the channel and see you on the next video.